Okay, there it goes. So we'll give another 2-3 minutes.
Sure, sir. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Anupam.
Hi, Ramesh, sir.
Okay, so we'll get started. It's 8:05. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in this big talk. This is our once in 2 months. I don't call it bi-monthly because sometimes it gets confused by it happens twice a month, but it actually happens once in 2 months. This is our talk series where being hosted, of course, by BITOSA Bangalore, where we try to bring in an alumni from our college to learn from his journey. So it's going to be a mixed format. If you've attended the prior ones, you would know that it's a mix of everything. We don't want to make it very serious. But we still want to have some takeaway for everybody who's joining in. So that's the reason we've chosen this format. So it's about a 90-minute conversation. You will have plenty of time to ask questions as well. There'll be some fun sections. Initially, we'll start with some other journey and the technical part, and then it'll go into fun part. So I'm sure it'll be great. Just to give you guys, if you are not very familiar, so BITOSA Global is the umbrella organization under which BITOSA Bangalore is a part of that. And this big talk is an attempt to bring in more conversations, help you get to know about the various things that are happening within our alumni network. Folks you can connect with Vishy sir, I can personally sort of say that if you reach out to him, even if he'll leave his personal work and attend to you. So that is the confidence I have. So it's very supportive, very helpful. I think everybody in the network is supremely helpful. Sometimes we don't realize that. So this is an opportunity to understand where we can collaborate. So that's the side conversation of this thing. We get to know someone who's working on some space. Today, I think Vishy sir spent a lifetime in the space of mobility. So there's nobody else who understands this space better. Startups, mobility, location-based stuff, a lot of hardcore tech. So it should be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of learning, and this will also be recorded and hosted up on YouTube. So it'll also be available for reference for future. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Vineet. And thank you once again for joining this conversation.
Thank you, Ramesh sir. Hello, everyone. The words pioneer and unique are thrown about quite easily nowadays. If you are an active user of LinkedIn and if you see all TV talk shows and all, like people just throw it around like, "Arey, this guy is a pioneer, very unique," and those kind of stuff. But today's guest that we have, it will be no exaggeration to say he is a pioneer in his field and unique in many aspects. In line with our endeavor to bring to you our successful stalwart alumni to talk about their experiences, their journeys, and inspire us in different ways, today we have a very special guest who is, as I said before, a pioneer and unique in many ways, Vishy Kuruganti. So Vishy sir, right now he works as the head of products for Rapido. He has worked in organizations like Gojek. He has had multiple startups. He's the founder of multiple startups. Some of them were acquired by big names in industry. But more importantly, the kind of work that he has done over the years, whether it's IT, non-IT sectors, and the kind of impact that he has created, the number of lives which his work impacts on a daily basis is humongous. And just to give you a small example, if we remember when Ola and Uber started, they just had cabs available for us, right? So looking back, you would realize that after some time, they also introduced auto rickshaws for us to, avail services of from whom did this idea come from? Who pioneered it in India? And the answer is Vishy sir. So we are indeed privileged to have Vishy sir in our company in our company today. And without explaining too much about his professional journey and interest, when I looked at it at LinkedIn, I was, you can say, quite enamored, quite taken aback by his list of achievements and the kind of thing he has done. But let's hear it directly from Vishy sir about his academic and professional journey, right from starting from the initial BIT days to where he is now in this first section of Big Talk Show. So Vishy sir, welcome to this talk show, and we will hand it over to you to take it forward.
Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Ramesh, and all folks in BITOSA and folks who tuned in on 8 p.m. on a Saturday evening. I know it's a very valuable time for folks. And in fact, when Ramesh first told me about this, my first instinct was to say, "Hey, no, yeah, I can't possibly do this." And he was persuasive enough. And I felt that I had a interesting enough journey to be able to share it with some of you. So that's why I'm here. I've got a presentation, which is, at least for the first part, it will serve more as an anchor for me. And for part two, I have some slides that I would like to walk you through for what's happening next in mobility. So with that, I will attempt to share a couple of, just give me a second. Yeah. All right, let me go into screen. 1 second. Yeah. So the full screen mode is visible to everybody?
It is visible to us, sir. Thank you.
All right, great. So 152 is my roll number, triple E. And this picture I found like 12 years ago. It was relevant then, probably still is relevant now. I think a lot of people who started, as engineers are not really engineers anymore. My journey so far, I'd like to look at it as a three-phase journey. Phase one, of course, was BIT, 4 years, and then 2 years at Tata Steel. My earliest memories of BIT are obviously, very, very anxiety-filled and excitement-filled. Landing there, and I think I was advised to take EEE actually, because it was foundational for the branches I was interested in, like CS. So I think in the interview, when I was asked what branch, I said CS against whatever advice I was given. And then I think Dr. CBM said, I think we can give you EEE. So I insisted a couple of times, and finally he said, no, I think EEE. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I think within a day, you land in a brand new place, and I was so pleasantly surprised to run into first Rajneesh, who I've known from Bokaro days, then my Vizag school days, and here, and then Ganesh, who was with me in Bokaro, and running into him here, and a few other folks from Bokaro. So that set off the whole feel good for me. And I would say, I was not like your either extremes of being too studious or being too ular, somewhere in the middle. But I really was a geeky wannabe, right? So I think I was interested in being a bona fide engineer. But I also, by second year, I was even planning what to do next, and I was pretty sure that I wanted to go to US. So I started my preparation for GRE very early. So while all this was going on, I was putting in that effort, and by the time things rolled around, I got a good score, and I applied, and I got a lot of admissions, but I didn't get the financial aid I was looking for. So I was still determined to go, and then my dad put in a gentle request, saying that you've gotten through campus interviews with Tata Steel. Why don't you spend a year, and then you can always go a year later. So that made pragmatic sense. So I decided to stay on for a year, which became 2 years. And Tata Steel, for those of you who've heard of it or who have actually spent formative years there, it's an amazing place that spoils you to no end. And it feels like an extended hostel life where you're getting paid. So I had a wonderful time there. And I feel slightly guilty that I didn't do enough work there. But anyway, 2 years later, I was able to get admission and financial aid from University of Houston. And off I went to begin phase 2 of my journey. And I was this time going for MS in computer science. So I would say I had a really good, intense 2 years where I really, focused and did my thing, right? I was, it was 94. The job market was pretty good, actually. Got multiple offers, but I picked Navtech because they were actually a very early spatial map databases pioneer, building accurate turn-by-turn directions applications. So that appealed to me, real-world applications and all that. So that began a 4-year journey working on really cutting-edge routing and mapping applications for, this is kind of pre-internet, in-car navigation systems. That was 4 years of that. Then moved to Silicon Valley, joined a startup which was building the early mobility platform to convert HTML to different kinds of markup languages. And that startup got acquired by Yahoo, and which ended up being a nearly 8-year stint there. The longest I've been with any company. And Yahoo is where I officially switched from being an engineer to a product manager. And that's where I got my, it was like a trial. I thought, my manager actually was, thought I would be a good fit. And I thought, let me give it a try for a year. And got I would say a great first year. It was building an e-commerce vertical for mobile phones, heady days. So in terms of transactions and ad revenue, it was a great first year. But then 2001 happened, where the dot-com bust happened. So even Yahoo was not immune to it. So we had layoffs. Our group size was around 55 and had to be brought down to 11. And so my
Okay.
boss pulls me aside and he says, hey, I think there are 2 MBA PMs ahead of you, so I can't retain you as a PM. But if you want to go back to being an engineer, you can do that. So I was there was no looking back on my PM journey. So I said, no, I think I'll take the chances. So I looked for and found a different role in Yahoo. And that was essentially my nearly 4 or 5 year second stint at Yahoo, where I worked mostly in the big data space. That back then it used to be called data warehousing, data mining, and all that. Had a great time where I would say I really grew as a product manager. And during that time, I still was doing a dual role of managing product managers as well as engineers. So I stayed still close to technology. And I would say that was a pretty instrumental role in how I continued being a product manager for the rest of my career. And then came 2006, where a couple of things happened. We had our second baby, and that was the first one. And my wife was planning to go back to work in a few months, 4 months or something. And I had this startup Kida building in me. So I took a 4-month sabbatical and stayed at home, took care of the baby on one side and working on my business plan on the other side. So after those 4 months, I returned briefly to Yahoo, and then I quit and co-founded Grasper, which was how-to video platform back when YouTube was still growing up, right? So that was a very intense but short stint of around 14 to 15 months, where we actually grew the business and raised a strong Series A also. But also things happened too quickly. And 2008, soon after we raised the round, the pressure to immediately monetize came. And back then, video monetization was a very early stage. So I sort of saw the writing on the wall, and I figured that it probably is not going to end well. So I decided to quit the startup. My partner continued for a year or two. And that was the point where my wife and I came back to the drawing board and said, hey, we've been talking about returning to India for all these years. And it used to be this funny sine curve. When she was ready, I was not. And when I was ready, she was not. And this was the first time we were both ready. So
that's how it works, right, sir?
Exactly. So we said, let's do it. And that's how the move to India happened. And I would say, once you start a startup, you are still caught up in the throes of it, and you want to say, I want to do my next startup, right? If the first one failed. Fortunately, I had some well-meaning friends on both sides, in the US and India. They said, hey, moving to India is a startup. So focus on that, So I picked, I would say, a relatively safe option from the options I had. So I joined Adobe, a company I had always respected, but not a company that, it's the only company that stands weird in the trajectory, actually. But anyway, it was a decent time. I lasted there about 2 years, I think, before the urge to do something entrepreneurial came up again. And this time, I wanted to work on a startup with, meaning the way I defined as it had to be a social enterprise. So, and social enterprise, I understood it and I was researching it, but I wanted to do it full time because I didn't know what kind of social enterprise to start. So I took a 1-year sabbatical this time. I think the best thing about a sabbatical is that you do it once, you feel comfortable with it, and you can do it again. And I took a year, researched, talked to a lot of social entrepreneurs, impact investors, wrote about it, started this Tech Sangam blog. And in that journey, I met this guy, Solomon, who would become my partner. He was the one who came up with the idea of mGaadi. And he pitched it to me and he said, hey, auto drivers, they are, yes, people hate them, but they don't really make a lot of money. And there is a chance to do it with building the Uber model and bringing that into the auto rickshaw space. So we got started in 2013, I think, early 2013. And yes, usual struggles, but we got product market fit in Bangalore pretty soon. And we were, I would say, having a good run, getting ready to raise our next round and launch in second city, Mysore, when Ola actually raised that big round. And after that, everything changed, right? Because once Ola got into it, and a few months later, we heard that Uber was also going to announce entry into India in the auto rickshaw space. Then all investors got scooped out, and so we had to do a series of pivots. And finally, the last thing we did was build an ERP for employee transportation, a product called Carter, which was, I would say nothing unique. There were companies doing that, but it was a very large market. And we were seeing traction, but it was a complete DNA shift, right? And the team was not really excited, including me, to work on that. So we started looking for an exit, and we exited to Yatra. Not the kind of exits that, not a brag-worthy exit, but I like to call it as a best match draw, in the sense that, okay, investor didn't lose all the money, they got some of the money back. So that's how the Yatra thing happened. We spent about a year and a half there, and built, I won't dwell too much on it, but the journey that Yatra was on, they wanted to build Uber and Ola booking service into their app. So that's how I got into the ins and outs of the Uber system by using their API. So that was a very interesting journey where we married, Yatra's low frequency, high volume businesses like flights and hotels with a high frequency, low ticket size, Uber, Ola bookings. And we got the loyalty program integrated, and it seemed to work well. Then actually, Vineet, you have to keep me on the clock. How much more time do I have?
Yeah, for this section, Vishy sir, we have about 5 to 7 minutes more.
Okay, cool. So then when it was time for me to think of something else to do, Gojek actually popped up into my radar. And it's funny, I had always known about Gojek, but what I didn't know about Gojek until I joined them was that their backstory was kind of similar to mGaadi's, in the sense that Nadeem Makarim, the founder, he started Gojek to actually create a livelihood platform for the Ojek drivers. Ojek is the bike taxi in Indonesia. So that was his starting point. And in fact, their backstory was first 3-4 years, they had a call center to match these people. And it's only in 2015 that they started an app. So they're the only major ride-hailing platform globally that had this kind of a backstory. And it was a very, I would say, Indonesia-focused space for the longest time. And the only reason why they went to other countries was because of competitive pressures with Grab. So that, I would say, was the most biggest interesting aspect of Gojek. And over there, over 4 years, I built several product teams around operations platform, customer service, and also an ad tech platform to do something that will sound very outrageous to you when I will tell you. Imagine a 21-inch TV screen behind bikes running video ads. So that's something that was a crazy idea 3 years ago, but we pursued it and happened. It actually is still, we have several thousand bikes in Greater Jakarta that's running ads and making money and earnings for drivers there. So that was a snapshot of Gojek in a way. And I was going to Indonesia once every month until the pandemic hit. And if the pandemic had not hit, chances are I might have still been, in Gojek, because it was really a great culture and great mission. It was just, the kind of mission I wanted to, have a work on livelihood platform just in Indonesia. So, but then Rapido came calling, and Rapido was very interesting to me for 2 or 3 reasons. The first reason being, hey, I was actually losing the tie between what I was working and not being able to see the effect on the ground. And secondly, I wanted to work on India-focused problem again. Rapido, you've just about everybody out there, including Gojek, they followed up the playbook of spending millions and millions of dollars in quickly growing the market, right? Rapido, meanwhile, which had started about a few years after mGaadi, I'd heard about them just when we were beginning to wind up. And I didn't give them any chance that they would succeed. But here they were, 4 or 5 years later, creating a category out of thin air. Bike taxi did not exist in India. And they created it, and Uber and Ola fast followed, but they still beat them, right? And maintained the #1 leadership position. So they were like the underdog that did all this, keeping a very low public profile and being very capital efficient about it. Because if you look at this whole industry, everybody has spent billions and billions of dollars. And I mean billions with a B, right? And Rapido has, until recently, they only raised a big round a few months ago. Otherwise, it was like, 2-digit billion of dollars that they had raised, right? So it was, for me, very great combination of things that they had done right. And it felt like a logical next step for me to come back to, it is a continuation of mGaadi to Gojek to Rapido. So that's how I would describe my journey.
Thank you, Vishy sir, for this lovely explanation of your academic and professional journey. I'm pretty sure that a lot of us were quite enamored by some parts of the story, especially the sabbatical parts, and how it helped you clear your thoughts and decide on what to do next. And we'll open this to the audience for any questions on Vishy sir's academic and professional journey. So guys, in case you have any questions, just to let you know, Vishy sir, people are quite interested in what you're sharing right now. I think I saw some time back that Neeraj Sharan sir was in his car traveling, but he is still attending this while he is traveling. So quite interesting. Yes, guys.
Yes.
So if you have any queries, can you either write the question on the chat window, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly to Vishy sir.
So with Vinit sir, can I go? This is Prince.
Yes, Prince, please go ahead.
So I have a question for Vishy sir. Sir, I am from 2K7, 2K11 batch, sir. And my question is, we always have a discussion around working for a startup versus working for MNC. In terms of job security, we want to leave a mark, but then it comes to a certain kind of security that we look for the work that we do. And going through your work and very inspiring work, working for so many startups, what would you suggest for us, sir, that how can we shape our career in those terms?
See, I would say this is, in my opinion, a little easy question to answer, because the startup journey is kind of pretty hard, right? You've heard about it, and I think the only litmus test to say that okay, I must do it, is when you have no choice but to do it, right? And for one class of people, that comes after you've had a few years, several years of stable MNC kind of job, where you have gotten some savings, also the confidence that you've developed certain skills that if the startup does not work out, you can always get back to a salaried job, right? So that's for a lot of people, that's how you get there. For some others, it's right out of college, and they've got a burning desire to create something, right? And that's the second type. So if you don't have a burning desire that you are just not able to get rid of it, then it means that it is not strong enough, so you can wait, right? And I'm talking partly the first part of the perspective from a different era. I would say now, at least from a tech world, a lot of what you are going through in your tech entrepreneurial journey is quite portable. I mean, these are the kinds of skills and attitude and temperament that a lot of big companies look for. So there is actually the only thing, the worst case scenario for going the startup route is okay, you may not make money, you might not be successful, but the experience that you gain out of it is what will make you a better better whatever, whether it's an engineer or a product manager or a marketer in whichever function that you're doing. So I would say that's how most people handle this. because the Kida has to be extremely strong for you to do it. If it is not very strong, then I've seen a lot of people. I mean, even I have, I've had various, it's been comes and goes. And if it's not strong enough, then you're like, okay, all right, it doesn't stick in your head. I hope that helped, Vince.
So I have a question, Sir Anupam here.
Yeah.
Since you brought the topic of social entrepreneurship and now sustainability is one big buzzword going around. So how you map or what are the avenues in this space for a startup? What is suggestions and ideas in sustainability with social fabric kind of startup? Any suggestion on that?
Vishy sir, before you answer that, just letting you know, today is Anupam sir's 15th anniversary. So happy anniversary, Anupam sir, from all of us. And just to let you know that he was so excited to hear from you that even on his anniversary day, he is logged in. So yes.
That is quite amazing. Happy anniversary, Anupam. And thanks, really thanks. And happy anniversary to your wife also. I hope this doesn't get you into trouble. So
Nothing, sir. Just has to cancel my dinner. That's all. So listen to it. Nothing. Thanks for that.
Okay. So see, social entrepreneur, I mean, I learned a lot also about social enterprises, during that sabbatical and mGaadi time. I think the biggest learning is, a social enterprise mission and the market that they are in, if it intersects with the mainstream, I would say, segment, then it gets a little dicey. And what I mean by that, because that's exactly the journey that we went through. mGaadi was supposed to be like, hey, it was a much slower transformation. We didn't expect that we would be able to do this like so quickly. So, but given that this turf became also the turf of the Ubers and the Olas, meant that we had to actually run a lot faster, right? And then that's kind of how, in a sense, it was not in a final analysis a great fit for that. But I think for social enterprises, it's really nothing but looking at your BOP, your bottom of the pyramid customer as a customer, and then figure out what products you want to build for them. I mean, the most popular ones have been around, successful ones have been around microfinance and some, decentralized power and all that. But it is really, I would say, in some cases, there might be a case where a social enterprise might have to be structured as an NGO, and that you should be okay with that, right? Sometimes it's like if you take something like Khan Academy. I mean, right. I don't see Khan Academy being in any other shape than what it is right now. He's such a brilliant guy who put up all of this, and the whole world is benefiting from it. And he's got, funds coming in from everybody, right? So it really depends. But if you're delivering a service, to a poorer section of society, and there is a business model, then you've got to make sure that you're first, you got to be, as these investors will say, finance first, right? You're obviously trying to add impact, but you got to be finance first in the sense that you're not trying to you're not trying to conquer world markets like Uber or anybody else, but make it work in that first neighborhood, first city, and make it sustainable, and then grow after that, right? It just, the nature of it is such that it won't be as fast as what we are used to seeing in our day jobs.
Right. Thank you.
Anupam, sir, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Vishy, sir. So now we move to the second segment of the show, which is your view and vision about the industry and economy as a whole. Yes, Neeraj, sir, you were saying something. Hello, Neeraj, sir. Are we audible to you? I think you were saying something.
It looks like a background noise. It's just traveling, as you mentioned, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Vishy, sir, if we can move to the next part of the show, which is about your view and vision about the industry, economy in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, this is a topic where I can spend a long time sharing my views, but I try to be very focused on how to spend 25 minutes sharing, what the leading mobility players have done so far and where we are headed. So this is the outline for the next 20-25 minutes that I'd like to walk you through. The first section, really looking at 4 of the biggies, and there is a reason why I picked these 4. How different their origin stories have been, their worldwide footprint, and kind of where they stand financially today, and risk factors which are common to all of them, these 4 and everybody else. And then the next section is, really this future that Uber is calling, go anywhere, get anything. That's their branding statement, if you may. So they even, I'm going to show a video that they produced. Also, they are a massive global market leader. So earlier this year, they shared, they had an investor day where they had a 189 slide presentation that was pitched to all the investors and the ecosystem, which is, so I've cherry picked relevant things from there that would be useful to share where we are and where we're headed. So with that, these are the 4 companies, right? Uber started in SF, now in 10,000 cities, 72 countries, towering over all these other 3, right? Lyft, which paradoxically, they started ride sharing a few years after Uber, also in San Francisco, but to date only in US and 10 Canadian cities. Grab, same time as Lyft, they started in Kuala Lumpur, now in 400 cities. That is basically all of Southeast Asia and 8 countries. Gojek, started their app in 2015, which is why that's the data I'm given. And they've, I would say, reluctantly gone to 3 other countries. Otherwise, they would have been perfectly happy staying in Indonesia if competition had not come their way. So Uber, I think today, of course, at one point they had world domination in mind, and since then they have exited from China, Russia, and Southeast Asia to Didi in China, Russia, I think that's a search engine there, and Southeast Asia, they sold their business to Grab. And Lyft is the only big company that's only doing ride hailing. Everybody else is doing ride hailing plus food delivery plus some form of logistics and payments, right? And they have been, I would say, Lyft and Grab has had no change in their founding team and the CEOs. Uber, of course, has had a very public change from Travis in 2017 to Dara Khosrowshahi. And Gojek has also had a change. Nadeem, in 2019, he became the education minister, and Andre, who was one of the early investors, is now the group CEO of Gojek. Mm-hmm. And Gojek also is an oddball here because a couple of years, year and a half ago, they merged with Tokopedia. So there is an e-commerce aspect to their business that is also baked into their current valuation. So now I'll quickly breeze through 3 charts, right? This is Uber over the last, since they went public, right? 2019 to now. So they are, I guess 1/3 of their peak valuation. And Lyft is 1/4 of their peak valuation at 5 billion. And Grab has had the steepest fall. They went IPO on through a SPAC in US. And so right after their IPO, they went all the way up to 65 billion. And then they had, the market is not happy with the rate at which they are trying to turn profitable, among other things. And Gojek they very recently went public in Indonesia. So this chart actually is on the IDR, which is the Indonesian rupiah. But converted to dollars, it is sort of still, close to what the IPO at, which is around 30 billion. But this includes the Tokopedia aspect. So this doesn't mean that, it's significantly bigger on the ride-hailing side. So now I'd like to walk you through these 4 important risk factors that when these companies, Uber and Lyft, went IPO, people lost their minds when they read this first statement. We've incurred significant losses and we may not achieve profitability, right? They're supposed to put all kinds of risk factors, but this people are like, okay, wow. And the main reason why Uber, Lyft, and everybody else who had followed this playbook, because they had spent so many billions of dollars, right? Even if they would operationally break even, and maybe create future revenue streams, the hole was too deep to fill, right? So that's an important disclaimer to give. The second one is also an important one. Anytime globally, you would have news that you have full-time drivers. They're almost employees, but they're not being treated as employees. And cities and countries deal with this differently. Like, for example, London back in 2016, as part of the UK ruling, they said that all Uber London drivers had to be treated as employees, and that's something that they had to appeal. So this is something that comes up as a common theme for not just Uber, but I'm sharing Uber's risk factor here. And the third one is, you would probably know that while there are full-time drivers, most of the global platforms have 15, maybe some of them have 20% of them are full-time. Everybody else is part-time, right? So for part-timers to come back reliably in a geotemporal way, which means that at this time, at this place, you've got to not just show them the promise of money, but give them some sort of incentives. So this is it's balancing a supply-demand marketplace with time and geography in mind, right? And regulatory risks I've already talked about. Yeah. So with that preamble, I want to first take you to the future, and then we'll come back to today, right? So here's a video that.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dara Khosrowshahi, and I'm the CEO of Uber. It's been a crazy few years. The world has changed and changed and changed. And as we head into one of the busiest travel seasons ever, in a year filled with a record-breaking number of weddings, the world is changing yet again. Our cities feel alive, the streets are bustling, and our climate is at the center of the conversation, with people looking for more ways to go green. At Uber, we're always innovating to meet your changing needs in a changing world. This year, we're unveiling a suite of products that will take Go Anywhere and Get Anything to the next level. Whether you're booking rides for a summer trip with friends, or you're a new parent relying on Uber Eats for everything from groceries to dinner and diapers, the world is in your hands.
Did he say dinner and diapers? Yes, please. Okay, Google. Order the salmon bento box from Rice and Miso on Uber Eats.
That's right, Alana. Your food is on its way, and you didn't have to lift a finger. Not that you could have. With Uber Eats' new voice assistant integrations, we're making dinner easy and effortless, no matter where you and your phone may be. Weaving Google's voice assistant technology into the Uber Eats platform makes it easy to get your go-to meal, bottle of wine, convenience store necessities, and more. Voice ordering will be available in English around the world, with more languages rolling out this summer.
Right on schedule. Out!
Hey, Alana, heading to JFK?
That's right.
Right, I'll take your bag.
Thanks. What a sweet little feature. I was able to reserve my ride to and from the airport. Love it.
Thank you. Planning your next getaway? With the summer travel season around the corner, we've designed our new travel feature to give you a seamless and stress-free experience. By linking your Gmail to your Uber account, you'll be able to see all of your upcoming flights and hotels right in the Uber app. With just a few taps, you can reserve rides for each leg of your trip, which means you'll spend more time dreaming about your vacation and less time planning it. And when you use Uber Travel, you'll get 10% Uber cash back for each ride that you reserve. all the more reason to plan ahead.
Welcome. Come on in.
Okay, this is an Uber ride. Let's go!
Whether it's a bachelorette party, a family reunion, or a company gathering, we all know how stressful it can be to plan transportation for a group outing. Uber Charter is the ultimate way to request a party bus or coach bus directly in the Uber app. And as always, we'll provide upfront pricing so you'll know how much your trip will cost.
I think I've been wrong about this sports thing my entire life. They're pretty amazing. Hot diggity dog. But the game.
Alana, you don't have to choose.
I don't.
No. So with Uber Eats and Postmates, you can order ahead in your app, skip the line, and pick it up when your order is ready. At the venue, you'll see all of the available merchants displayed from closest to farthest, depending on your section. Once you place your order, wait for a notification that it's ready, then boom, skip the line and grab your food. Uber Eats and Postmates are available at Yankee Stadium, Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, and now at Capital One Arena in DC, with more to come this year.
If you're hosting an event, you want to make sure that your guests get to and from the venue safely and easily. But personalizing transportation for everyone can be tricky and time-consuming. With just a few clicks, Uber Vouchers lets you cover the cost of rides booked by your guests. Uber Vouchers is also available with Uber Eats, so you can send them to friends and family as a treat for any occasion. Plus, you'll only pay for the rides that are taken and the meals that are ordered, so you'll always stay on budget. With the flexibility of Uber Vouchers, your guests will feel treated and you'll know that you've taken good care of them.
I'm starving. You know what? I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna. Unlock. Okay.
No, that's not an alien. It's one of 2 autonomous delivery pilots that we're launching as a way to continue innovating for Uber Eats consumers. This is a friendly servo robotics sidewalk robot, optimized for short-range deliveries with easy handoffs. Ilana will meet the robot, receive a notification on her phone to unlock it, and grab her food. We're also working on a pilot with Motional to use their autonomous cars for high capacity and long-range deliveries. Plus, they're all electric.
Hey.
Ilana, heading to LAX?
Sachin?
Yes.
Thanks so much.
At Uber, we are on a mission to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles on our platform. Last year, we teamed up with Hertz to give drivers who rent the option to rent a Tesla. This partnership plans to get 50,000 Teslas on the road by 2023. And now,
I'll pause this and just move on. I think let's save some minutes The next thing that they're showing is a bit more on the electric side. So I'll back to just a second. Something is off with my screen. Hang on. All right. Okay. So yeah. Just okay. So the next section I wanted to share with you, what the key trends are, and this is basically showing the homepage of the Gojek app and the Grab app. As you can see, it's mobility, food, all of these things. So it's a super app, right? And that's where pretty much all mobility players, with the exception of Lyft, are moved towards. Right? So next, what you see here is the Uber US, mostly a US North American homepage, because Uber Eats in India is no longer there. But the whole idea is it's essentially like a super app for all of these, mobility, delivery, and freight also. Now, this Amazon of transportation is something that the new CEO has brought to the table, saying that and if you look at the list of product categories that you have here, it is pretty much covering everything, and we saw a taste of that with charter and shuttle and all of those things. And so they are already there. You see taxi, and taxi is actually a regulated vehicle in all the markets, and they managed to still cover some of them in the cities there. So this is actually puts things in perspective. We think that everybody using ride sharing, but actually in terms of penetration of looking at it in terms of population, you look at it's still in the single digit in even the advanced markets. And among Brazil is surprisingly the highest, and India is still very much low, and even including all the categories that Uber is in. And this is an interesting trend because Uber X, it's in the North America. For India, it is Uber Go, the equivalent. Most people are traveling on that, about 90%. And the Uber pool and the shared thing is still a very low 5% range of transportation that happens, and obviously that has dropped even more with COVID, right? People are taking even fewer shared trips, especially in India. And this 4% has come up higher on motor, auto, and taxi, mainly because of the advanced markets, emerging markets like Brazil and India. So, and this is an important slide because, again, it puts things in perspective that even considering the big growth of the mobility business of Uber, the entire hailable market, which includes the regulated vehicles like taxi, auto, and motorcycles, is about double that, right? And which is the piece that they and other players are trying to also expand into. And this is what their ambition is. They want to actually cover and get to the entire taxi segment. And they have actually acquired a company called AutoCab, which is one of the SaaS platform in this space that allows fleets of all sizes, including yellow cab companies, to run their hailing operations. And so this partnership allows them to, it's like having another channel. You could still request it from the Uber app. And I think Uber Auto and Moto I will skip. We already talked about it. It's just the size of it is in these emerging markets, these categories they have to support to be able to make a big dent in the market. And autonomous vehicles is obviously still being piloted, and that's why, but it is in the future, and they just, they're not projected when they will get to a certain percentage of rideshare passenger miles. And in fact, this is something that multiple companies in US, mostly, all of this action is, Tesla is obviously the furthest along, in terms of autonomous. And then the other company called Cruise, which is a subdivision of GM, they are actually doing it as a pure play ride sharing custom vehicle. So that's the company that has a very different model compared to everyone else out there. And this one, we have all heard about electric, but I think this is the projections that and in commitments that Uber has made 2025 to reach 100% EV in markets like London and Amsterdam in Europe. And this, to me, 2030 is actually not that far away. And at the rate at which Tesla and other EVs are catching on in US, this seems like it could actually happen, right? Now, honestly, while the forecast for EV rides globally is 2040, to me, that sounds honestly not very believable, but this is the forecast that they have. We need a quick time check now. How much more time do I have?
Yeah, Vishy sir, I just dropped you a message that we'll need to wrap this up in the next one. Okay, guys. So based on what Vishy sir has shared about his inputs, the video he shared and inputs about how the space is expected to pan out in the next few years. Yeah, in case you have any queries about the mobility space or the industry or in general his views about the economy, where things are heading, please either write a question on the chat window or ask him directly by unmuting yourself. And then post this, we'll move to the personal section once this segment is over. Yes, Sharad, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes, please go ahead, Sharad.
Yeah. Hi, Vishy sir. Nice to know about you and about the accomplishments and achievements of your career. And just wanted to understand one thing. Is this ride-hailing segment ever going to become sustainably profitable, or is the cash being guzzled for something else?
It's, I think that great question. I think that's why I showed that risk factor there, right? I think for some companies who've started late and who have not spent the billions, I would say operationally, all of these companies in the pandemic, they have, demonstrated that, if you start from day zero, they have actually been profitable, right? Operationally, break-even, operationally profitable. So they have demonstrated the unit economics can work, but they have already sunk in billions of dollars on it, right? So it is, but what is the short version of what I was trying to show is that it's harder for a ride-hailing company to be a pure play ride-hailing company and be profitable. It's a lot more efficient if you have multiple use cases like food delivery, grocery delivery, and mobility. And in fact, we've multiple companies from Uber, Grab, Gojek, and even in Rapido, we are seeing that when you have multiple use cases to drivers, the earnings per hour goes up, and it's sort of on both demand side and supply side, it seems to make sense. So I would say cautiously, I would say yes, but when exactly, don't know. Right, the answer for when everybody is now heading towards profitability, and even in this long presentation, Uber, EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, they are claiming that in a few quarters they are going to get profitable, right? So a lot of them will be claims, but we'll only the advantage of the food side is that you get to take a commission from both sides, from the customer as well as the provider, in this case, restaurant or a grocery chain.
Vishy sir, in continuation with this question, we have another question from Anupam sir, where he wants to know, already we have established players in this space. So is there any chance for newer or smaller players who have come in late into this game or are planning to come in to survive?
So it's very hard, right? Because see, at the face of it, you found, building the app seems easy, but right, the whole matching a particular request from a customer to which driver nearby, that's a big arms race, in the sense that a lot of very sophisticated algorithms have gone in that would be trained. So I would say for somebody to come in and build this it would have to be one of the biggies already, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody like an Amazon or Microsoft with deep pockets and they want to get in, just like how a Geo got in, right, and became
Right.
the big telco, it's hard for a new player to make an entrance and have a big impact, because it's a hard problem to build a marketplace at scale like this.
Great. Thank you so much, Vishy sir, for your inputs here. And now we move, guys, to the personal section, the most interesting section based on the feedback that we have got from the earlier episodes, where we will talk about the personal lives of our guests regarding BIT and beyond, where we'll be inviting two of our guests, close friends who are superstars in their own rights in terms of their professional achievements and what they have done in their careers. So before we introduce the two close friends that Vishy sir has nominated, let us do a quick rapid fire round to understand a bit more about Vishy sir's BIT experience. A rapid fire round, as you know, we will put in questions relevant from our BIT days and just get to know how it was with Vishy sir during those times. So Vishy sir, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Go for it.
Fantastic. So first question, if you had a chance to eat only one more meal in BIT, would it be canteen food, hostel food, dhaba food, or bata?
Hostel food. Surprising, but hostel food.
Okay, one exception. One thing about BIT you can't forget.
I think in the first year, there was a senior who had spent 6 years and had finally graduated. He had come to Hostel 7, and to celebrate, he came with the biggest chocolate bombs and firecrackers, and he was dropping them as he was coming up. And finally, he dropped the last one in the room that he had in Hostel 7, which incidentally happens to be Ganesh's room. So that to me was like, oh my God, this is Bihar. And this is BIT. That was that memory I'll never forget.
So it seems, Vishy sir, that the mic drop thing must have been inspired from this bomb drop, right? After completing the graduation in 6 years. So we had those babas there. Okay. Which mode of transport was more fun for you in going to Ranchi? The student bus or the trekker or the jeep?
I think the trekker made life very exciting. Trekker, definitely.
Okay. One celebrity you wish you could ride with on the way to the institute, on the cycle or rickshaw?
Madhuri Dixit.
Okay. I hope like not many people are hearing this. So, I mean, you know what I mean, right? Okay. So
I mean, it's okay. It's okay if my wife also hears it.
now it's too late anyways. So yeah, the most loved professor for you.
I think Professor Makbul, who taught us microprocessors, I think he was really good. Yeah.
MUP. Okay. In our batch, the MUP professor was someone who gave a really tough time to almost the entire batch. So quite a refreshing change to hear that. Happiest BIT moment.
Happiest BIT moment. Actually, I mean, there's so many, but I have to pick one. I think drinking ganna juice on the hot summer days probably come to mind topmost. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Aloo burji or anda fry in the hostel? Since you mentioned hostel food was your favorite.
Aloo burji.
Aloo burji. Okay. Maximum number of proxy attendances that you made in a single class.
I'm ashamed to say that I only reached 4. I think there were people with 7 and 8 in my batch, and I knew who those were. Only what 4. Yeah.
So at least there's one place where we can say Vishy sir probably needed to improve. We have had guests who broke the double-digit barrier earlier. So yeah. Your favorite lab for practicals, so?
I think Foundry Lab, because it seemed fun. It seemed like we're doing something actually with our hands. Yeah, Foundry Lab was enjoyable.
That's nice. Last question, which tasted better for you, the exam night tea or the aam panna?
Chai for me. Exam tea.
Night tea.
Yeah.
Great. So now that we are done with the rapid fire questions, I believe this would have given some view to the audience about BIT days that Vishy sir and his batchmates went through. We come to the most important part of this show where we introduce two of Vishy's close friends. So guys, we have two fantastic folks from the 86 to 90 batch. I'll just introduce them one by one. So our first guest today is Rajneesh Singh sir. Just a quick intro about him. Rajneesh sir was the topper of the mechanical branch in 86 to 90 batch, and he did his post-graduation from IIM Bangalore. He is currently the CEO and MD of Liquid Games. He also founded Venture Bean Consulting Private Limited. He was a plant director at Sandur Manganese and Iron Ores Limited, also a director at Aqua Technologies in his earlier avatars. He has also been a part of the academia where he has been a faculty of finance at Institute of Product Leadership, worked at important roles in ICICI and Kotak Mahindra Bank in the growth stories. And while all this is impressive by itself, and this whole batch as such is a batch of achievers, one thing that makes Rajneesh stand out and will definitely ensure that BITians reach out to him is that he is the owner of a luxury villa in Goa, which is called Villa Splendor, which he rents out. So all those folks planning to vacation in Goa, you know whom to reach out to. So welcome Rajneesh sir to our show. And I'll introduce the second guest now before we let Rajneesh sir and Sri Ganesh sir take the mic. So our second guest tonight is Sri Ganesh sir, who is based out of Atlanta. As with other folks of this batch, a high achiever, stalwart in his own right. He is currently the Global Workforce Management Operations Leader of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. He had done his master's from Louisiana State University, over 25 years of experience, mostly in Hewlett-Packard. So he had been a part of Hewlett-Packard in various roles, but currently his major role is that he is managing the workforce, driving standardization, consistency, and labor costs, other aspects for Hewlett-Packard employees across 58 countries. So a lot of responsibility on his shoulders as well. So Rajneesh sir and
One second, Vineet, and you forgot he was also triple topper.
That
topper by.
Okay, that I was unaware of. So quite intriguing to know that Vishy sir brought to. He was close friends with the toppers of both mechanical and triple E.
Yeah, and there was no danger of me getting anywhere close to them. But please.
Yeah, fantastic. One small aspect I want to mention before we move ahead is Vishy sir is a marathon runner. And not only is a marathon runner, he runs marathon barefooted. So the distance that he covers usually in one day, in one go, is the kind of distance I usually cover in a month walking around. So another aspect which makes him unique. So to talk about their days in BIT, I warmly introduce and welcome Rajneesh sir and Ganesh sir to the show. Rajneesh sir, would you like to go ahead first, please?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vineet. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are clearly audible, Rajneesh sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Vineet. And it's such a pleasure to talk about Vishy. And it's good that we meet Ganesh also or hear him on this particular show. And Vishy also forgot, he mentioned, but not many people probably caught on to it, that Ganesh, Vishy and I both go back to Bokaro days.
Right.
So we have, as fate will have it, we have known each other for almost more than 40 years. Vishy and I were together in Bokaro, in Vizag, in BIT. And for a brief period of time, we left, we kind of got out of contact because Vishy moved to US. I remained in India, and then we got back again together when Vishy and his family moved back to Bangalore. So it's been such a pleasure that I have this occasion to talk about him and our BIT days. And it was really such a pleasant surprise to meet Vishy when I also walked into BIT. And he was, which is with his boyish grin, which he always had, one of the youngest, not only by age but also in looks in our batch. And I think his charming smile and he also came with, he always had his mercury coated sunglasses with him, which I can't forget. And he charmed his way into BIT, everybody, including our own batchmates, as well as all our seniors and juniors. And he probably was one of the few people in our batch who had friends in all batches. I think Vishy started his networking then in BIT days. He knew everybody. Today, he's probably one of the most networked person that I know. If anybody wants to meet and get an introduction from anybody, all you have to do is ask Vishy. He probably will know the person, or if he doesn't know the person, he definitely will know somebody who knows the person. So he's fabulously networked today. And I think it started in BIT days, and I think that was another reason why he kind got away with less ragging than I think most of us. I think he was the one who got least ragged in BIT. In the first 3 months that we were in Inners, BIT, Vishy would always be with some senior or the other, and he would kind of watch all of us getting ragged, and that I think was was really funny, because he was also of our own batch, but he never got ragged, is what we saw. But those were the days. So we were largely a Bokaro gang, because for some reason we found there were more people from Bokaro than Vizag in BIT batch that we were in, and so we got together. That was the group that we stayed together. I think almost all the 4 years. We were a close knit group. We obviously allowed some of the guys into our group who we liked, very few of them, but we got some of them into our group, and he was never short of accepting any challenge. And I still remember a time when Vishy had a bet with somebody, and he drank one full bottle of Benadryl as a bet. And I think he was sleeping for the next 2 days. I think that was the first time that we had such an experience in our hostel. And we were searching for Vishy for 2 continuous days, and we realized that he has been sleeping for 2 days. So that's Vishy for you. I have put together some photos and pictures which I managed to get, and I will use this occasion to kind of share and not embarrass him too much, but I think it'll be fun to look at some of those pictures.
That would be lovely, sir. Thank you.
Can you see this? So this is I think my favorite picture of Vishy. Vishy attempting to, I think, probably become the buffalo fighter of India. That is.
I have not seen this yet. Thank you.
That's one of the funniest pictures of Vishy. And in all the pictures that you see, all you have to look at and is try to find the youngest in the group, and that will be Vishy.
This photo says Rajneesh sir, why Vishy sir was always interested in mobility. The one with the buffalo.
This is on, I think, Inners Hostel 2, and this was our group. If mostly would be found together at most of the times. And these are some pictures that we had. I don't know whose camera it was. It was at that point of time, but one of us had a camera. So some pictures for you. It brings back very fond memories of our BIT days.
Nice.
Definitely BIT stint will not be completed if we did not go to the falls. And this, I think, sums up what Vishy was at campus. This is our souvenir, and I managed to find this. So smart, simple lad from Vizag, of his excellent scores, he never did brag. I think that sums up what Vishy was at campus. He's always been a very focused guy, and I think he mentioned that he was probably the earliest of the, if not the earliest, one of the earliest who started preparing for his GRE very early at campus. and not many people know, and you mentioned that he's a marathon runner, but he was not like this at BIT. Vishy has been or was a chronic asthmatic. He always carried his inhaler at that point of time. But he turned his life around, I think, in Tata Steel when he joined, if I remember correctly, Vishy, that he was in
Yes.
Tata Steel, that he took up running as well as, I think, trekking. And then what he is
Yeah.
today is not only runs marathon, I think he runs what is called hyper, if I remember that word correct. And
Ultra.
ultra, that is what he runs now. Not 42 kilometers, but hundreds of kilometers at one go, if not more. That's Vishy for you. Completely focused, very strong-willed, um, and he also is if I remember, he is a motorbike enthusiast. And if his back had not given up on him, today he would be riding his Royal Enfield, uh, and not his E2O. But I think he turned his he turned EV evangelist in India now, and I think he only has an EV today, and it has been uh, a great association that I have with Vishy for a long period of time. He's always cheerful, always, as you said, supportive, always available for people. And I think it's great that you got him for this talk. And I wish Vishy many success in life. All the best.
Thanks so much, Rajneesh. You were supposed to roast me also, and you did not roast me.
I can't roast you in such an occasion, right?
Thank you so much, Rajneesh sir. And we really appreciate the extra effort you put in to collect those photographs, go through the brochures and the memoirs and bring it out for all of us to see. It is really fabulous. So now we move to Sri Ganesh sir. So Sri Ganesh sir, would you want to talk about your experiences in BIT and about Vishy sir, please?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Absolutely clearly, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, that picture that Rajni showed about that buffalo, when he showed that, the first thing came to my mind was that, in Hindi, it's, ah, bell mujhe maar, right? That's kind of, but, it's typical Vishy, right? He's like a risk taker, but I kind of wanted to, there was a transformation, I think, Vishy, that happened. In Bokaro, before BIT, when we were in Bokaro, and then we sort of split out. My elder sister Vishy's got an elder brother and a sister. So my elder sister was in Vishy's elder brother's batch at school in Bokaro. And Vishy's sister Janaki was in our batch. Vishy was actually 1 year junior to us.
Okay.
Then he got a double promotion somewhere along the way and he came along, right? So isn't that right, Vishy? You got a double promotion, right?
Yeah, that's right. 3 to 5.
Right. So he was in our class. I remember he was the quietest guy. If I recall, he used to sit with a guy called Manpreet Singh. Right? He used to sit in class, quietest guy. Every chance he gets, he used to have a book. He used to be an avid reader, voracious reader, quiet, shy guy. Right? I left Bokaro. I think Rajneesh left Bokaro. Vishy went to Vizag. The next time I met him was at BIT. The first day I said, hey, you're back here, you're back here. But the transformation I saw in Vishy was tremendous. Gone were the quiet, shy guys. And here was a guy who was talking about, I won't go into the specifics about his infatuations in school. I think he went to Timpani School in Vizag. So there's some stories from there that Rajneesh is more familiar with. I recall some good stories about teachers that Vishy really liked. and BIT days, we were in hostel 7, I think lobby 4, Vishy had the corner room. Bhaskar from Bokaro had lobby 3, the corner room. I was in lobby 4. I think Rajneesh was in lobby 3. So that quadrangle in between used to be the place, dinner time, we used to just kind of get together and we used to kind of go down, or that quadrangle before you go down the stairs. That's where we used to play, hand cricket and stuff, right? And Vishy was also one of the guys, he had those glasses and stuff, but he used to have this old fox detective hat, right? So he had this hat, which in that during our days, there was an English serial called Wolf Fox. He used to have this hat over there, and and he was the only guy. And he talked. You guys talked about Rajneesh mentioned he knew a lot of people well liked. I think Vishy, I don't know if you can throw that picture that you threw up, the first slide. The first slide. It's a very interesting picture. And Vishy was well known not only with seniors but all the girls in BIT as well. Okay. I won't name them, but Vishy and Rajneesh know who they were, right? So he was a ladies' man too, right?
No.
Yeah, he was to an extent a ladies' man, right?
They all liked him. He may not like them. That's okay.
Yeah. And at that time, there were this concept of sneakers, was just kind of arriving in India. I think Vishy we always used to wear this brown suede shoes, right, Vishy?
Yeah, right.
I remember those,
I'm
right?
surprised you remember that level of detail, man.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking as Rajneesh was talking, right? She used to wear those things, and I think you used to play the guitar when you were in Bokaro, right? You used to learn guitar, right, for a short period of time.
I used to play the Hawaiian guitar in Bokaro, and then when I came to college, I got it thinking I will learn the Western style, and Aditya was teaching me for some time until he finally realized कि talent नहीं है, छोड़ दो.
So because in Bokaro, I used to see, because we weren't very far away, in Bokaro during summertime, I used to just, take my bicycle, go to Vishy's house, stand outside the gate, call out his name. He would come out, and then we would kind of, summertime go play table tennis at school on those broken tables, right? So that's how Vishy, Rajneesh, I think also in college we saw, and Rajneesh was an athlete, by the way. He used to play cricket also for BIT, but Vishy was always, there was a transformation from Bokaro to BIT, and I think it just carried on throughout his life, and then of course I came to the US. I knew Vishy was at Tata. Rajneesh was at Bajaj Auto, if I'm not mistaken. After college, Rajneesh went to Bajaj, and I came to the US after about a year at HCL. I didn't know he was at Houston because LSU is in Baton Rouge and Houston is only about 4.5 hours away. Through somebody, I think I was talking to Bhaskar or someone, and came to know that he was there. So Vishy and I connected when I was at LSU and he was at Houston. So Vishy, I think, came out to LSU, and then subsequently I got a job in Chicago. I moved to Chicago, and Vishy moved to Chicago as well. So interestingly, when he moved to Chicago, he stayed with me, I think, for about 6 months or so before he found his own place and moved closer to his work. But he was an avid, he was a risk taker. So he basically he loved Chicago, he loved the weather, so he ended up buying a motorcycle, right? He had a Kawasaki 750cc, right, Vishy?
Suzuki 700cc.
Suzuki 700cc.
I think you got a Honda eventually.
Yeah, so he then goaded me into getting one also, right? So Vishy didn't have a car. He had the motorcycle, and that was his primary mode of transportation everywhere. Subsequently, I ended up getting one too. I got on Honda, and I started using it as well. But the craziness, I want to tell you about the craziness about this guy, right? Which kind of goes into his career, and he's not afraid to take risks, right? So this guy went from Chicago to Nebraska on his motorcycle. I don't know, the 15-hour journey, Vishy. That was
580 miles one way. So I did it.
Yeah.
And on the way back, it was 100 miles in rain. So yes, it was.
Yeah, it was in rain.
Crazy
yeah.
then.
Yeah. So this kind of shows, right? So someone asked a question earlier on about, startup or multinational, etc. And Vishy gave the response of, you've got to have it in your blood, right? So this was all in his blood. This guy has always been a risk taker, right? And it's not that this was one of those motorcycles where you could, sit back and cruise. This was those crotch rockets where you have to bend down and drive, right? So this was on the interstate driving at 80, 85 miles an hour. This was crazy, right? These are the Vishy crazy days. I remember we also went up to some place called Wisconsin Dells where we did bungee jumping. Right?
Yes, indeed. Both of us did.
Right. And then subsequently, I think I moved out of Chicago. Vishy moved and and talking about ladies, right? That's how he charmed, I think, Poonam into marrying him in Chicago, right? So
Yes.
I did meet her a couple of times, but I don't have the full backstory of exactly what transpired. But it's been great to see him, from the Bokaro days to now. We do stay in touch. I think when I visited India about 5 years ago, I did meet Vishy and Rajneesh for dinner in Bangalore. So it was great to see them. And I'm not at all surprised about Vishy's adventures and his success. And I'm kind of looking forward to more of those. Right. So anything he does is never going to cease to amaze me. Right. That's Vishy. Right. So.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, that was lovely memories.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Ganesh, sir.
yeah.
Really fantastic. So in case we still have a few minutes. So Rajneesh sir, Ganesh sir, if you want to add something more, please go ahead. It's really fabulous memories that we are coming to know right now. So please go ahead.
No, I mean, I think out of the blue last year also, I think, I think these are relationships, where we may not kind of communicate with each other, for a period of time. And then suddenly, you get a text, and then you pick up the phone and you start talking. It's not as if like we haven't, it's kind of, you pick up where you left off, right? So whether it be the BIT days, in fact, I came across somebody else from a 1988 batch that Rajneesh and Vishy, Chetan Rajan, who out of the blue pinged me about 2 weeks ago, right? So
Right.
so it, so these kind of relationships continue, right? So it's actually wonderful to that you're hosting this, and and showcasing this. Also kind of gives us an opportunity to see each other and share some of these stories.
Ganesh, Chetan
And
is
Chetan, yeah, Chetan, I've got to
I
actually
saw
call
his
out
name.
Chetan. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Chetan, can we see you?
I'm
Switch on your
trying
video.
to join. Here is what is happening with me. I was sleeping, and as I got up, I picked up WhatsApp, and I saw Vishy. I'm like, what is Vishy talking? Let me listen. Then I see your face, Rajneesh. I'm like, wow, Rajneesh is here. Then I see Ganesh talking. I mean, like, oh my God, this is the gang I got to join. And I'm like,
So you must have thought we are having a private conversation instead of a BITOSA meet, right?
I have no idea what's going on. I mean, from my vantage point, these are some of the phenomenal people from BIT days. I, in a way, kind of used to look up to them, but at the same time, they were immensely friendly to me. So you can imagine, just by looking at Vishy's name, I jumped in. And, I don't know what's going on here. So I don't even know what the context is. So if someone can enlighten me on that, I'll be happy to talk. But if we are trying to, talk about Vishy, I can talk on that. But someone first tell me what's going on.
So Chetan,
Okay, Chetan sir. Sorry, Ganesh sir, go ahead.
No, this was just one of those forums which is hosted by our BITOSA team, where they showcase specific people from our alumni who basically have pioneered or done something that has affected people's lives, right? So Vishy was showcased here today. And by the way, Chetan was someone that I have started calling him Chetan recently, but I used to always call him Bhalu, right? So this is something that I just
You're
now,
not
guys,
supposed to
you
take
understand my
everybody's
predicament.
Ganesh. You're
I
not
was
supposed to
saying
take everybody's trip.
When I went to get my second set of reco letters in 91, I was at Chetan's room. He was the host there. And then after that, of course, when he visited in Bangalore, now what, 7 years ago? That's the last time we met, 7 or 8 years ago. Chetan, uske baad we ran out of touch. So nice to to see you pop up here. Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah, so like I said, I got up and got on the WhatsApp thing, and I was like, wait, I see Vishy, and I jumped in, and I see Rajneesh talking, and then after that, Ganesh jumped in. So it was pleasant surprise to me. And talking about Vishy, we hail from the same background. Both our parents worked at Vizag, like Ragnesh's. So, that was the common thread, and we all went to BIT, but I was 2 years behind them. But all three of them, like I said, I used to look up to them. Academically, they were all at the top level. So, they were toppers. And for me, like, if I needed any academic help or direction, I would be like, hey, how do you do this? And in early days, like, when you go to seniors and you're looking for any kind of help, they were always there. So much so that even when I used to go from Vizag to BIT, they used to be with me. Like I used to be like a younger brother to them. So they were always there. And what can I say? Later on, I ran into Vishy at Bangalore. I was there and I pinged him, hey, can we connect? And he, without a hesitation, came on, and it was nice. So.
Thank you, Chetan sir, for sharing these memories. Really wonderful to hear from you as well. And Rajneesh sir, Ganesh sir, a lot of spice and masala did come out in your stories. So that was wonderful as well. Thank you so much, all of you, the audience members, for being a part of this and continuing throughout the show. We do hope to bring another guest in 2 months' time for all of us to listen to and learn from, just like the wonderful guests we have had today. So guys, thank you again so much. And we would be closing this now. We are past the allotted time. So Vishy sir, for all your efforts, thank you again. Rajneesh sir, Ganesh sir, thank you so much for joining in from different time zones, different kind of efforts to bring out the stories, all the photographs. It was really wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Vineet. Thank you, Rajneesh and Ganesh, and all of you for joining in. Yeah, appreciate it.
Hope you guys have lovely rest of the weekend. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.